Hi, welcome to Audiobook Academy. This is a self-paced audiobook. There's no need to keep an eye on things. Just pay attention. Thank you for taking the time to listen. This is a book summary of Better Than Before by Gretchen Rubin. When you don't have to think about it, a behavior becomes a habit. To properly modify a habit, you must first recognize your tendency. One of the most efficient methods to develop better habits is to schedule them. Habits are the unseen infrastructure of daily existence. Developing excellent habits necessitates self-control. I don't have to make a decision since I've already made one. We alter our lives when we change our habits. If we're trying to persuade someone to adopt a habit, we'll have a better chance if we take their tendency into account. Habits are the unseen infrastructure of daily existence. Knowing ourselves and choosing solutions that work for us is the most essential thing. We often learn more from one person's individual experiences than from scientific investigations or philosophical treatises, says the author. To understand how people might change, we must first understand their habits. I've learned to place a high value on my own observations of ordinary life, because laboratory tests aren't the only way to understand human nature. Habits take the place of self-control. However, one study reveals that when we strive to resist temptation with self-control, we only succeed about half of the time, and lack of self-control was a top choice in a big worldwide survey when participants were asked to identify their flaws. We conserve our self-control via habits. Developing excellent habits necessitates self-control. A habit is commonly characterized as a repeated activity that is cued by a specific environment, often occurs without much awareness or conscious intent, and is learned via continuous repetition in everyday words. I came to the conclusion that decision-making, or, more precisely, the lack of decision-making, is the fundamental key to habits. I don't have to make a decision since I've already made one. This decision-making freedom is critical because when I have to make a decision, which often entails resisting temptation or deferring gratification, it puts a strain on my self-control. Habits enable transformation by relieving us of the burden of decision-making and self-control. Research reveals that when people engage in habit behavior, they feel more in control and less stressed. Surprisingly, stress does not make us more prone to engage in negative habits. When we're concerned or exhausted, we revert to our patterns, whether they're bad or good. It's all the more crucial, then, to attempt to build habits deliberately, so that when we fall back on them in times of stress, we're doing things that improve rather than worsen our position. It's dangerously easy to become numb to our own existence due to habit. I've seen that we generally seek adjustments that fall into the essential 7. Consume more nutritious foods and beverages, give up sugar, eat more vegetables, drink less alcohol. Exercise on a regular basis. Make good decisions when it comes to saving, spending, and earning. Save regularly, pay down debt, donate to worthy causes, stick to a budget. Rest, unwind, and enjoy yourself. Stop watching TV in bed, turn off a cell phone, spend time in nature, cultivate silence, get enough sleep, spend less time in the car. Stop procrastinating and get more done. Practice an instrument, work without interruption, learn a language, maintain a blog. Simplify, make it clear, tidy it up, and organize it. Make the bed, file regularly, put keys away in the same place, recycle. Deepen your relationships with others, God, and the rest of the world. Call friends, volunteer, have more sex, spend more time with family, attend religious services. A routine is a collection of habits, and a ritual is a habit imbued with spiritual significance. Habit is a good servant but a lousy master, says the narrator. Ask yourself, what am I pursuing this habit for? We alter our lives when we change our habits. We may use decision-making to choose the habits we want to create, willpower to get the habit started, and then, the greatest part, we can let habit's remarkable power take over. The first and most crucial habit question is, how does a person react to a challenge? We set an expectation for ourselves when we try to form a new habit. As a result, it's critical to comprehend how we react to expectations. We are subjected to 2 types of expectations: external, meet job deadlines, follow traffic restrictions, and internal, stop sleeping, keep a New Year's resolution, expectations. The 4 tendencies are as follows. Upholders. Both external and internal expectations are met with ease. Questioners. All expectations are questioned, and they will only meet them if they believe they are warranted. Obligers. Outer expectations are easily met, while interior expectations are difficult to meet. My friend on the track team. Rebels. Resist all external and internal expectations. Our tendency shapes the way we see the world and, as a result, has far-reaching implications for our behaviors. Upholders are responsive to both exterior and interior expectations. Because upholders have a strong instinct for self-preservation, they have a strong instinct for self-preservation, which helps safeguard them from their desire to meet other people's expectations. All expectations are questioned by questioners, and they reply to an expectation only if it makes sense to them. Questioners are quite intellectually engaged, and they're often eager to perform extensive study, since they like to make well-considered decisions and come to their own conclusions. Obligers meet outside expectations but struggle to meet interior expectations, says one observer. For obligers, forming a habit may be challenging because we often attempt routines for our personal advantage, and obligers do things more easily for others than for themselves. Rebels defy all expectations, both external and internal. Rebels can sometimes annoy themselves since they don't know what to do. Understanding our tendency can assist us in framing behaviors in a persuasive manner. If we're trying to persuade someone to adopt a habit, we'll have a better chance if we take their tendency into account. Self-awareness enhances our self-control, and self-awareness provides self-measurement. Identifying precisely what action is monitored is a vital element in the monitoring strategy. We tend to underestimate how much we eat and overestimate how much we exercise, which is unsurprising. When people wish to enhance their habits, they generally start with a habit that won't provide much payoff in exchange for the habit formation work required. Starting with habits that directly increase self-control is beneficial. These habits serve as the foundation for building other excellent habits. Habits grow strongest and fastest when they're repeated in predictable ways, and scheduling an activity tends to lock us into doing it for most of us. Scheduling requires us to confront the day's natural constraints. When you schedule one activity, you don't have time for anything else. This is beneficial, especially for persons who have difficulty saying no. To use the scheduling strategy, we must first decide when and how often a habit should occur. The key to build the ease of a true habit was consistency, repetition, and no decision. Scheduling can also be used to limit the amount of time spent on a certain activity. Although arranging time to worry sounds strange, it's a proven anxiety reduction approach. The scheduling strategy is a potent weapon against procrastination. Scheduling is a powerful habit-forming technique because it eliminates decision-making, allows us to maximize our limited self-control, and combats procrastination. Perhaps most importantly, the scheduling strategy assists us in making time for the things that are most essential to us. Accountability means that we are held accountable for our actions, even if the only consequence is that someone else is watching us. We're more inclined to do something if it's handy, and less likely if it's not, says one researcher. Making a new buddy as an adult is difficult. Would you want to get a cup of coffee sometime? Can be really awkward. Being a part of a group makes it easier to meet new people. Habit development is aided by two types of clarity: clarity of values and clarity of action. It's simpler to maintain a habit when we can clearly identify the link between the practice and the value it provides. Changing a habit is far more difficult if the new behavior involves changing or losing a part of ourselves. Research suggests that we tend to trust what we hear ourselves say, and the way we characterize ourselves has an impact on our perception of our identity and, as a result, our habits. The following are significant topics from Gretchen Rubin's book. Our lives are ruled by our habits. They have the power to shape our days, weeks, months, and years, for better or worse. A habit is formed when you make a decision to change anything in your daily routine. If you continue with the change, it becomes a task that you perform on a regular basis, without having to make any conscious decisions. The 4 Tendencies framework depicts the groupings on which your future habits should be based. Questioners analyze all expectations before deciding whether or not it is worthwhile to meet them. Obligers eagerly satisfy outward standards, but struggle to achieve internal demands. Upholders react quickly to both internal and external pressures. Rebels defy all expectations, preferring to live life on their own terms. The monitoring strategy provides a detailed look at how to manage various behaviors. Gathering useful knowledge is critical in the process of making a life change, especially if you want to acquire more control over your own activities. The foundation strategy entails developing habits that help us maintain self-control. Begin by focusing on those who have a positive impact on you. Start with your sleeping patterns and work your way up to your drinking and eating habits, as well as cleaning up your office and house. The scheduling strategy accomplishes exactly what it claims. It's all about dedication and upholding your word. It implies that you have a definite period set aside to carry out your behaviors, as well as a daily strategy to adhere to. Writing things down takes you one step closer to imprinting emotion on your brain, with predictability being one of the most valuable factors in developing a habit. The accountability strategy forces us to exercise greater restraint when skipping or avoiding an activity. When someone is observing us and we can be held accountable for our actions, discipline comes into play. Starting an accountability partnership is a better method to put this idea into action. Here are 5 useful takeaways from Better Than Before. Spiritual reading, or Lectio Divina, has its roots in the activities of early Christian monks. If sacred manuscripts aren't your thing, you may still spend some great me time wandering through art galleries, going to concerts, hiking, or even meditating. The goal is to connect with your spiritual self. I'll do that, the activity that interrupts your habit, in 15 minutes, tell yourself to get through your cravings. Normally, you are preoccupied by other things and forget about it. If you still want to do it after this time period, add additional 5 minutes whenever you feel tempted in the future. If then planning is a safety net in case you need to employ the break glass process, and it necessitates a more pessimistic view of the future by evaluating potential catastrophic situations. By planning ahead and establishing a plan B, you will be able to react quickly and minimize the potential damage. Rather than expressing aloud, "I'm stressed," attempt to figure out what motivates you to say it. Stress is an overly broad term that ultimately serves simply to make you whine rather than to address the source of your misery. Determine the cause and take appropriate action. When you put something in your calendar, you have to do it. There will be no leave it for tomorrow excuses. You should keep a schedule if you don't already. Having a set schedule is beneficial. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Please don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you in next audiobook.